Hey, welcome to Classic Driver's Garage. On this episode, I'm doing a heater core on my TA. Shit the bed on me in May on actually my first ride of the season. I took it out and it started leaking, so I just bypassed it for the summer. But now it's getting cold out, and it'd be nice to have a heater. And they're doing road work in front of my house, so I can't get the car out anyway. So I might as well just do the heater core. I've never done it before. So I hit up the forums and YouTube and Google. It looks like it's a real bitch to do. So I'm not really looking forward to it. So let's get at it. So in the information I found, they said that on most cars you have to remove the inner fender well to be able to get to one of the bolts apparently that's underneath. The heater core actually comes out from the inside, but my car, as you can see, being a non-AC car, I have a ton of room on this side. So hopefully, from what I read, I won't be having to take out the inner fenders because they're a pain in the ass. I had them out when I rebuilt all my front end, and it's a real pain in the ass. So I don't want to have to take those out if I don't have to. Okay, so inside the car, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take out the passenger seat, so I've got more room to work. And I'm going to have to take out the center console. They say it just makes it easier. And then we got to remove this here, the glove box, and then we should be able to gain access with that. So let's get at that. One more thing, I'm also going to disconnect my battery. Well, I guess I could just take the light out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my dome light my light out, so I don't kill the battery with the door open while I'm doing all this. Okay, so for the console, there's going to be one on each side, a 5/16 screw holding this in. On my car, for some reason, there was a 7mm on this side. I don't remember that from when I took this out when I did my clutch a few years ago, and I don't know why there's a metric bolt in my 42-year-old American car. Anyways, after that, in here, in the actual compartment here, there's two Phillips screws, one at each end, and then you can just lift this out like so. And at the back here, then those look like 5/16. So you got two more 5/16 holding it in the back here, and then the rest of the console should come right out. All right, back on the TA heater core replacement today. I've gone ahead. I was trying to show you guys how I did it, but there's not much room in here for the camera setup, and I keep knocking it over. Basically, this just there. That just slides over like that. There's little metal clips that holds it, so you just need to pop off that metal clips, and then there's a 5/16 screw that holds that on like so. So you just undo that, and then you can move that out of the way. I've also disconnected the plug that goes for the switch, and then over there you have the other cable, which is the vent selector. So you need to pop that one off too to be able to get what I assume is this whole box will come out. And then there's also another 5/16 screw holding that wire down over there, and that one looks like I can get to it from the driver's side. And then down here I removed, it's a 5/16 screw that holds the vent on like so. Okay, so now I'm going to go over there and I will undo the cable and the screw, as you can see, and then we should be ready to move in to actually start removing the heater box. That's the cable for the defrost heat selector, and I'm having a bitch of a time trying to get that little clips off because I can't get my meat hook hands in there to get to it. Also, if you've got a bad back, heart condition, and a bad mood from something else, or hungover, I wouldn't suggest that you attempt to take that off today, because it's pretty painful to contortionist myself to get in here. Okay, I got the cable off the rod, and what seemed to help was moving the selector over to like defrost. And then I guess gave some slack in the cable, and I was able to get it out. So now I'll just undo that other 5/16 screw from the driver's side that holds on the cable to the box, and then I'll be ready to remove the box. Whenever I can, on bolts that haven't been taken off in a long time, I'll usually put an open head wrench on them for the first couple turns, just to make sure they're actually turning. I can see it turning before I snap something off. Sometimes it helps. Doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. Try to pull it out. I put some newspaper down to catch in if there's any fluid left in the heater core. However, when I bypassed it in May, I put my shop vac to it and tried to suck out as much as I can. So hopefully there's nothing in it. Some guys will tell you that if your carpet's brand new or whatever, you might want to pull back your carpet. My carpet's the original, and it is pretty beat up, so I'm gonna have to change it at some point. So I put on some of this newspaper here, and hopefully I really like to try to film the actual process of pulling it out, but I don't know if I can set up my camera so you guys will actually see anything. I'll try. Hang on. Well, that's gonna be the best I can do. Yes! Yes! I got it out. I got it out. Oops. Hung up on something. Yes! And my idea of sucking it out worked. Yes. Ooh, it's been leaking for a while. I'll get you guys in here in a minute. Yeah. Yes! And I didn't break nothing except for that one stud. No big deal. Could have been worse. Yes! Couldn't be happier. Got some rust repair. I'm gonna put some rust inhibitor on there. All right. Okay, so it's clearly been leaking for a bit. You can see there's some rust there on the firewall. So I'm gonna sand that down, hit that with a little bit of rust inhibitor. And then over here, all inside the box, you can see there's some rust in there. So it must have been leaking a tiny bit for a while and I just never noticed. So I'm going to pull this out and get started on this. So I got it over here on the bench. It looks like there's two, those are 5/16. Yeah, two 5/16 screws here, and there's like a blue metal clip. And here it looks like another blue metal clip that's like it's like a spring clip. I'll show it to you. See, so what I'm thinking is if I undo these two here, then it should just kind of pop out. Et voila. And I was correct. It is original to the car. Right there you can see it says Harrison. Okay, so here's the box. See in here when I pulled it out, you'll notice earlier in the video this was all covered in surface rust. And there was rust here, rust in there. So I put some rust inhibitor on it. I got was it this stuff right here, rust converter. Then once that dried, then I hit it with some of this engine enamel just to put a top coat on it, and I used it very sparingly, just enough so that there's no rust. Okay, this stuff I did go quite a bit on, like, you know, I wanted to make sure there was enough, but the paint just enough so that it's just a very thin top coat. And this stud snapped when I was pulling it out. There wasn't much info. I basically just drilled it out. I put a carriage bolt through, cut to length, same pitch thread as the original, so I can use the original nut that goes on there, and I JB welded it. It's not super pretty, but you know what? It's solid. It's not moving, and that's it. So now here's the thing. So here's the original heater core, and look, with one hand, it basically goes right into place. Whoops. And a second. I did it before when I was practicing. Okay. There we go. See? Drops right into place. Now there's a foam that goes here, and then there's a clip that holds that right. So that's the original. Okay. Here is the repop, or the jobber one. The foam had some like rust color on it, so I just very lightly, I clean that up with a palm sander, and I just kind of clean that up. Now if I take this one here and I go like this, I can't get it in. It's hitting here. The tanks are what looks like it's larger on this side, so I'll set up my phone And then I'll try to, we'll try to wiggle it in. But already off the bat, it's not fitting super great. So it's definitely not going in there like that. Definitely not. So I think what I'm going to have to do is, this clip's here. I'm going to have to get this off. And that's the only way that that's going to go in there, is if I get this one off. So, there we go. So now let's see. Okay, so now it's in, but it really doesn't fit like the original one did at all. Now I'm wishing I spent the other $200 and I would have just had it, but we're gonna make it work. So now I'll put this clips back in. We'll see what happens. Oh, that seemed to work okay. Look at that. We might get it yet. And then this funny looking clip goes in. Like so. Like so. Okay. So I was panicking for, well, not panicking, but so it went in. It wasn't that bad. This is how that clips goes. I don't know if you can get in there and see that. Whoops. This thing here, I didn't really waste any time cleaning it. I literally just sprayed some brake clean and then I sprayed some rust inhibitor over the clip. And that's it. Now this should hold that right in there. So I'll put the two 5/16 screws in there. And now we're basically ready to reinstall the box into the car. Okay.
Do you have room in this corner?
Not really.
No?
No. Not really. Okay. How's now? How about now?
Nope.
Are they through? Huh?
Nope.
I mean, I can't, the studs aren't even close to the holes. I can't, like, they're not even close. Not even close.
You're gonna see what I mean. Yeah. It's the last one. Okay. Alrighty then.
Not even close. To the driver's side? Driver's side? Okay, up a bit, up a bit. Okay, now push straight. No,
No?
no. You gotta go up a bit. No,
No?
over to the left a bit.
What?
No. To the driver's side. Okay, now, like, up. Okay, stop. No. Yep. As you can see, things took a drastic hard left turn. I had the inner box all ready to put back in the car, and well, I couldn't get the damn thing back in. The tubes were not going through those little holes there. There's two holes there up over here. So I ended up doing what I was hoping I wouldn't have to do, and that was pull the inner fender and the outer box off. So now I'm scraping this shit off. And I picked up some, they call it strip caulking, which is what they say was supposed to be on here. So I don't know if somebody's been in here because there's all kinds of shit, crap all over. So I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to clean up the outer heater box, and then I'll be ready to, put it back together. Okay, well now, the inner fender is back in, and I just got to bolt it down. But typical GM fashion, you can't get nothing all line up at the same time, so you kind of got to get one lined up, screw it in, and then fight with the next one, screw it in. So that's what I'm going to do. Also, scratch the shit out of my frame that I spent, a lot of time detailing when I did on the front end quite a few years ago. So the moral of the story is just clean it up and paint it, and don't try to make it look perfect because it ain't going to stay like that, and I'm going to have to touch all this up. And yeah, so you can see how I struggled. This is why I don't like, I hate pulling the inner fenders if I don't have to, but I had no choice in this case. So I'm going to keep hammering away on this, start bolting it back up. Okay, so the outer box is back in. The fender well is back in. I've touched up a bit of the paint. It looks like shit, but that's only because it's cleaner than the rest and it'll get dirty in no time. In here you can see where I painted a bit to touch up where I scratched. And then all the inner fender well is in. Once again, I grossly underestimated how much work I had ahead of me. I thought I could bang this out real fast, but if you're just going to do the job like straight, like remove it or swap the heater core and put it back in, then yeah, it's not that big of a job. But me, of course, there was some rust inside the inner box, so I took the time to treat it, repaint. Same thing with the outer box. Once I took the inner fender well out, there was some rust in a couple spots and some dings, so I took the time to paint it. So all that adds up, and then it adds up to, taking longer to do what shouldn't be more than a 10-hour job. So basically now I'm finished under the hood. Now it's just a matter of reassembling everything in the interior, and the cars are ready to go. Okay, so I just realized that I'd filmed all the work, a bunch of work on the episode, and then I never actually filmed a conclusion so that Justin can finish editing and putting it back together. I didn't film putting everything back together in the car because it's basically just the opposite of taking it apart, and I pretty detailed it pretty well when I pulled it apart. So the car's all back together. I've had it out in some very cold weather. The heater core works perfectly, gets nice and toasty in the car. My wife really appreciates that. But now, as you can see, there's snow in the forecast, and I'm basically putting the car away for the winter. Few takeaways from this job. It was my least favorite thing to do on the car. I really did not enjoy this job. Hats off to the guys who do this in AC cars. I can't imagine. One more, don't try to cut corners. I had read that maybe I wouldn't have to remove the inner fender well and the outer box to do this job, and I did actually manage to get the inner box out and then change the heater core and all that stuff. But then when it came to putting it back in, you can't get the tubes through the firewall. At least I couldn't, and I had a friend come over to help guide the tubes. And that's another thing, is get an extra set of hands when you're going to get ready to put the box back in, because you're lying on the floor, you can't see what you're doing, and you don't want to bend those tubes that go up to the core, because if you bend them and they crack and it leaks, then you're up shit creek. So that's one thing. So get an extra set of hands, and also you're going to have to remove that inner fender because there's no way to get it back in without it. So I ended up struggling for nothing and ended up pulling out the inner fender anyway. So that's one thing to think of. Two, if you can't buy it locally, like I bought the new heater core locally, if you can't, at the very least, try to find a spot where you can have it pressure tested or leak tested. I can't imagine having to do this job back to back, simply because the new heater core leaks, and we all know that quality control on these classic car parts are not, it's not what it used to be. So that's another takeaway. So that's pretty much it. I just want to say thanks to you guys for watching. winter's here, so that means that's typically project season. Although this summer I did quite a few projects simply because I couldn't drive the car. That's a story for another day. But I do have some stuff I'd like to do to the car this winter, as well as on Dad's car. If you guys want to see more projects, I've got work to do on my dad's vet. If you guys would like to see that, just write it down there in the column. Thanks for subscribing. Tell your friends, and see you guys next time.